How realistic is that? How reachable? 20 pesos per kilo of rice.
Well, the 20 peso per kilo of rice is not impossible, but there are a lot of things to work on for it to happen. Number one of that would be to augment the supply of rice in the country through agricultural development and ensuring that farmers are able to produce the necessary volume of rice that will allow the market to be able to reduce its price to the intended value of 20 pesos. But again, there are a lot of things to be done, and once we reach the 20 peso per kilo of rice, it should not be at the expense of other industries for that to happen.
And what's interesting also, this happens, of course, that remark happened at the launching of the Kadiwa stores. And what do you make of this particular program to help combat inflation? Is this even sustainable? I mean, considering this is also, of course, a repeat rather of what his father did during his time. So how realistic, how sustainable are Kadiwa stores? And is this really the way to go to actually fight inflation? We have monetary authorities from the past, calling for non-monetary interventions. Is this what you were expecting?
But the Kadiwa store is, for me, in my opinion, is a temporary relief for the rising prices, particularly of food commodities, because it would allow our poor countrymen to be able to have access to affordable rice, to be able to augment their daily needs. However, for it to be sustainable, it has to be approached in a sense that we should be able to attack it systemically by allowing the agricultural sector to be able to produce more, to be capacitated to produce rice, so that the Kadiwa store would just be a temporary relief rather than a permanent one.
Yeah, I would just like to follow up on that issue. Do you think there is a need to widen the scope of the Kadiwa stores, for now, to help shield the people from soaring prices of basic commodities? And what do you think of that? What could be the impact on this on our farmers?
Well, for now, the Kadiwa would work, but again, I'm not privy into saying that it would work in the long run because of our tight supply as of the moment of rice. And if this will be given to at that level of price, it might not be enough to be able to cover all the supply requirements of the country, which may be problematic unless the production of rice in the country would be sustainable as well.
Now let's talk about inflation, which neared 14-year high in October. Some project it to go even higher, especially after Paeng. Where do you see this is heading?
Well, I think based on data, inflation reports or inflation figures might not have yet reached its peak because we are not yet into the full season of the holidays, the Christmas. And as we all know, during November, December, there is a high demand from the Filipino people because of the holiday season. And as we know that with higher demand, it is accompanied by a faster inflation.
But do you have your estimates? Where do you see it heading? Do you have projections?
Well, for projections in inflation, it might, for the last part of the year, it might reach 7.5%, given the demand and the continuing supply constraints that we have, particularly on food commodities.
But when do you see that at least going back to expectations, 2 to 4%?
Well, as inflation returns to the expected or the healthy rate, it might happen in the first quarter of 2023, wherein demand would now slow down because we are now